Hey everyone, on this episode of the Broker Link, we're sitting down with David Ireland to talk about Medicare OEP. What should you be doing? All right, David, thanks for sharing some time with us today. I know you've been on in the past, but would you mind just introducing yourself again, how you got into the business? Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. My name's David Ireland. I'm a Medicare Sales and Marketing Director here at the Brokerage. I primarily handle the Central region as well as North Texas, basically help agents and agencies with marketing and grow and produce more sales.
Very cool. So let's get right into the topic today. Medicare OEP, would you tell us, like, what is it in a nutshell? When did this start? What's OEP?
So that's a good question. It can be called the Medicare Advantage OEP because that's really what it's for. It's for people who are on a Medicare Advantage plan, be it an MAPD, an MA only without drugs, and it allows them to make one change during this period, which is January 1st through March 31st.
Mm-hmm.
It came back last year. It used to be around many years ago. They did away with it. Then they came out with the Medicare Advantage disenrollment period, which was January 1st to February 15th. When the OEP came back, it replaced that. And basically, you know, it's kind of there for people who might have buyer's remorse. Maybe they were put in the wrong plan during AEP. They figured out their doctors aren't actually in network. It's just not the right plan. They can make one switch during that time.
Gotcha. So obviously there's a lot of compliance rules and regulation in the annual enrollment period. I know OEP is a little more vague, a little tricky. So maybe talk through how that works in terms of marketing and in terms of how you even bring this up to folks.
Sure. So that's the biggest thing as far as compliance goes with the OEP is how you market. Basically, the way it is written is that you can't market unsolicited about the OEP. In other words, we might do mailers all year round with different messaging. During the OEP, you cannot mail out pieces that say you have an opportunity to switch your plan because it's the Medicare Advantage OEP. What you can do is have conversations with people, your current book of business. Maybe one of your current customers calls you and says, you know, my doctor's not in network or just got out of network, or, you know, I gave you the wrong drug and now it's really expensive on this plan. It allows you as that agent of record to make it right, so to speak. You can go ahead and re-research it, possibly put them in a better plan, helps you maintain your book of business. So when you're following up with your people, especially if they're new members, you know, it's good practice to follow up with them 30 days later, make sure they got their card, make sure they're happy, take the opportunity again to ask for referrals. And you can mention it to them that, you know, I just wanted to check up on you because if for whatever reason the plan's not right, we can switch you. If you have any friends that maybe might be in that situation, have them call me.
So maybe let's go over some of the do's and the don'ts there just for everybody to get a recap. So can you send out direct mail saying, unhappy with your plan? Call me right now.
No, but you can send out direct mail saying you may qualify for additional benefits.
Okay, good to know. So that would apply to direct mail if you guys are doing social media, if you're doing flyers at your local community center. It's all about the messaging.
That's right.
Can you contact people that you know, maybe not that they're not your clients, but you know they're eligible, and say, hey, did you notice the OEP? I could help you if you're not happy with your plan.
I think you're trying to trick me there because no, you can't contact people that aren't your clients unsolicited anyway.
Okay. We're just trying to keep you guys out of trouble.
All right.
Okay. Good. So I think the standard rule of thumb there would just be everything you already know from AAP compliance, just with another added element of you can't really target people as being unhappy, prompt them to change plans necessarily, but you can just say, hey, if you're not getting the coverage that the benefits that you deserve or that you want, I do have an option for you, or we could sit down and talk. But they have to be your current clients right? Or if you do marketing, it can't be specifically targeting OEP.
That's right. You just can't say, hey, it's Medicare Advantage OEP. If you're not happy, you can change plans. But you can say, if you're not getting all the benefits you might be eligible for, you might have an opportunity to change plans because they might have a special election period, LIS, dual.
Right. Be as broad as possible.
Just don't say OEP.
Don't say OEP. There you go. Cool. So you put together a blog post that I was editing the other day. It was 5 things that brokers should be doing during the Medicare OEP. And I thought it might be cool to go through that with you, kind of one bullet point at a time, and discuss that. Because you talked about a lot of things that are much more beyond selling, but more like focusing on growing the business, getting things in order, that this is the time of year to also be doing that. And you kind of talked about client retention. So let's get into that. The first thing you said was following up with your book of business. We talked about, you probably reached out to your clients at the start of AEP, but it's also a good practice to talk to them after AEP. So what does that look like practically? What does that call need to look like?
So that's a good question. If you're a newer agent, this is going to be a much easier task. Once you've been in this business for a while, you build up hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of members in your book of business. It's kind of hard to go through and call everybody. So it kind of depends on where you are in the lifeline of this business, so to speak. But let's say that you are a newer agent, you should be calling everybody because you're trying to get more business. You want as many opportunities to ask for referrals as you can get. If you're a more seasoned agent, I would start with your newer members, the ones that you just signed up in AEP. You probably know by now, looking at your renewals, which of your members are just loyal. They've been on the plan forever. They're obviously happy. Maybe you just don't really hear from them. You reach out to them. Maybe you send some direct mail. Maybe you have them on a email marketing campaign. But you're not as concerned about them leaving as maybe the new ones because, there's a lot of TV commercials that are targeting your members. And so this is an opportunity to follow up, again, ask for referrals, make sure they're happy. If they're not, you have an opportunity to put them in a plan that they're going to be happy with and stick with.
And remember, the referrals must call you first, right? You can ask for the referrals, but then they have to call you.
That's right.
Just general Medicare rules, but don't forget that stuff. That's important.
Well, and back when we were face-to-face a lot more with our customers, if you're face-to-face, you just sign them up for a plan, you ask for a referral. I like to ask them if they have a referral, ask them to go ahead and give them a call. Put it on speakerphone. The referrer can call them while you're there.
Yeah. Good strategy.
Yeah.
Little nugget of wisdom there, guys. So yeah, number 2 was asking for referrals. So then getting organized. Sometimes the craziness of AEP, it lends a hand to not staying organized with your applications, scope of appointments, notes. CRM, I feel like is a bit of a buzzword. I think what we talk about when we say CRM is every agent, every broker, they're going to have their system. They're going to have their way of doing it. I know you have a way of doing it. Everyone here has their way of doing it. But in general, what are the most important things, if we were to give them some value here, that you should be keeping up with? When you say get organized, let's get the system out of the way. What are we keeping track of?
Okay, so CRM aside, again, asterisk, CRM, very important. Good idea to have a CRM. But what I mean by get organized is you at least want to have record of all of your customers' contact information. As simple as that sounds, you'd be amazed that how many agents will just submit an application and move on. And then they just trust that they're going to get paid by the carrier, those commissions. It's hard to tell not only who stuck, who may have left, but if you want to do marketing campaigns in the future, which you should be doing now anyway, you want to stay in front of your customers, it's really hard to do that if you don't have their contact information. If you need to make a call to a producer help desk on behalf of your customer, they're going to ask you for that member's date of birth, Medicare number, identifying information. And it's embarrassing to have to call your customer back and say, ooh, I need your Medicare number. Well, don't you already have that? You should. Yep. So even if it's an Excel spreadsheet, make sure it's password protected, because there's sensitive information in here. Yep. But and during AEP specifically, as you're going through this practice, it allows you to really gauge what you did during AEP. You can see if you represent a bunch of carriers, you can see which plan you wrote more of. But really, it's just about maintaining your book.
Yeah, so maybe we give them a little bit of an in-depth look there. That would look something like, let's say you're just using an Excel all the way up to a sales CRM, all the way up to an AMS, like Agency Block or something. Whatever system you're using, obviously, first, last name, phone, email, address, Medicare number, the product that you sold them, and then their, I guess, renewal date.
So I'd add date of birth.
Date of
birth. You didn't
birth.
say that. Parts A and B effective date.
Effective date. Okay.
Primary care physician.
Okay.
That would say, if we want to break this down into levels, is most important, and then maybe second and third, all the contact information, like you said, first name, last name, email, phone, date of birth, Medicare number, A and B effective date, address, city, zip code, plan, you put them in, and the effective date. I also like to put date of appointment, date application completed, referral source, if that person was referred.
Or even lead source. How did they find you?
Right. Yep. It helps. As we review what works and what doesn't, look at the numbers speak for themselves, right? Look at the sales. Where did it come from? Whether or not they're new to Medicare, because that's going to affect how the commission is paid.
Yep.
And then, was the commission paid? You can have a little checkbox there. Did you do the HRA? Yes. So as you're doing this, you can, oh, you know what? I submitted this app, but I didn't do the HRA. I need that extra $50.
Yep.
And I didn't mark it here. And then, as far as doing annual reviews, many agents do, many agents don't. But it's good to have as much information, all the information you got on the front end, you might as well keep it. Primary care physician, specialist, drug lists. Particularly agents who write a lot of Medicare supplements and standalone Part D plans, they just start grinding out calls as AEP approaches and ask them, what's changed with your medications? And then they will rerun it and simply enroll. It saves their drug list. So they can just go in, make sure everything's the same. Drug plans, benefits, costs change every year, so they can just rerun it even if their drug list hasn't changed. And put them in a plan that might save them money for the new year, because if you're not doing it, somebody else might.
If you're not doing it, somebody else might. Tweetable. David Ireland, folks.
Quote.
Yeah, I love the in-depth, because I think a lot of times, and a lot of agents are asking about this, hey, I hear you guys talking about CRM, but I love the just, here's what we mean when we say CRM. This is what it is. It's nothing crazy. And you can go as complex as you want, but I think those are the bare bones. This is the information you should be collecting. And imagine the capabilities of that. If you have records of groups of people, and let's just think from a client retention standpoint, if I have my group of people that I have sold a Medicare Advantage plan, and then I have people I've sold a Medicare supplement plan, that's two different kinds of clients a lot of times. So then I'm able to take that data and I can create different campaigns. And I know we're talking about cross-selling in the month of February as well. The Medicare Advantage client is a good candidate for hospital indemnity. So I can pull all that data and I have an instant marketing campaign. I can contact them because they're already my client, and I can present this product to them. On the flip side, the Med Sup client, same thing, but it might be a dental plan or something like that. If I have this data, a lot of folks ask, what should I be doing during OEP? Well, you have this gold mine just waiting, and also your clients, if they really do need the product, they're going to appreciate you for presenting it rather than not telling them about it. The more products you have with a client, the more likely when they see that 1-800 call center commercial, they're going to go, well, I've already got a relationship with David, and I've got like 3 different products with him. They're not going to call that number. Which brings me to the next thing. You mentioned checking your commissions, and I know that's part of kind of the CRM piece of this. Do you have like a process, like when should people be doing this? Because it's kind of like if it's based on the annual enrollment period, shouldn't there be like just a sit down time that you could kind of knock a lot of that out at once? What's your process for that?
Sure. So the AEP commission, so applications written for a 1/1 effective date, those commissions are held until January 2nd. CMS kind of just determines how carriers can pay these. And so you get all of your commissions at once from all of those 1/1 apps the first week of the new year. So it's just a good idea. I mean, this is your money. You earned it. Pull those commission statements, cross-reference it with your records, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet. However you do it, just make sure that you got paid on them. You might uncover in doing this that somebody that you signed up for a plan, maybe they signed up for a different plan a few days later, and it's the last one submitted or processed that takes effect. So you might realize that somebody you wrote during AEP actually isn't on your book of business. Now, here's a little trivia. You think you can contact that person during OEP?
Say it again.
Do you think you can contact that person that you signed up in AEP, you thought they're your member, but then in doing a commission audit, you see that you didn't get paid, you researched it a little bit, and it turned out they never actually got enrolled because they signed up for a different plan after you signed up.
Can you contact them? Well, you have 9 months permission to contact if they did the scope of appointment, right?
Yeah, you do, but you really aren't supposed to contact members that disenrolled.
Because it could be seen as like bullying, essentially, or intimidating them. Is that why?
Yeah, it's hey, I signed you up, and I see that you changed plans. What's going on with that? And they could definitely...
Mafia style.
Yeah, right.
So what's going on?
I know. We need to break some knees. But this gets a little bit tricky. There's some rules that you have to really figure out and adapt because this person was technically never your member.
Yep.
So you do have some OEP opportunities in just auditing your own records.
So what's the takeaway there, David? Because if I'm an agent and it's OEP and I'm trying to figure out what I should be doing, a lot of this has been very practical, but this little topic, it's interesting because you're going through, let's say you've sat down, you're auditing, and you go, wait, this person's in my CRM. I thought, and if you don't have a system, you're never going to catch this stuff. It's crazy. But I do catch, well, I thought they had enrolled, but I didn't get paid on that. What do I do?
I'll take that a step further. So you see an inconsistency, somebody that's in my CRM that I signed up, I didn't get paid a commission on. You might start thinking, did I actually submit the application? Oh no, every agent at some point has this moment of, oh crap, did I screw something up? Did I actually submit this application? It might be, maybe you took a paper application for whatever reason, which is why we don't encourage paper applications, and it's sitting on your floorboard or in your trunk. So if they were already on a Medicare Advantage plan, somehow you dropped the ball, you didn't submit the application, it's OEP. You still have an opportunity to fall on the sword. I'm really sorry. We can still get you in the right plan.
Okay. Good takeaway. The fifth thing on this list and the last thing is planning ahead, taking note of the lessons you've learned from the previous year in AEP, what worked, what didn't work, right? And then kind of planning your year. How many brokers would you say actually do that? What percentage?
Oh, I don't know. There's some statistic. I think it's 85.6% of statistics are made up on the spot.
If you had to guess, I mean, if I'm throwing it out there, I'd say 80% of agents don't do this. I don't know.
I will say that 100% of successful agents do this.
Good. I like that. So what am I going to be looking back at? If I'm giving folks some practical advice here, what are some of my key metrics that I'm analyzing to see, okay, like how do I know something worked? Other than the fact that I made an enrollment. What does success look like? And then once you answer that, let's get into a second part of this question, which is how do I start to prep for the coming year, especially as things are finally opening back up. Things are getting back to, I would say, some sense of normalcy, especially if you're in the South. And I think even in the North, it's starting to open up a little bit. So first part of that, how do I analyze what worked? And then we'll get to that other part.
Yeah, so if you kept good records as far as who referred this person to me, which provider group sent me these people, which marketing campaigns worked, which ones didn't work, which seminars, locations, dates, times worked, which ones didn't work so well. So all of those things, because the name of the game is consistency. You want the business to be easy, right? And if you're not focusing and continuing to caress, I guess for lack of a better word, what's working, then you're making your job more difficult than it really needs to be. If you see that, I wrote 10 applications all referred by this one person, you need to be really, really nice to that person. Mm-hmm. Send them a really, really nice thank you. Mm-hmm. Those referral sources are gold. It might be one of your members that just loves you and just rants and raves about you all the time. Yep. And that's going to remind you, hey, I should remind my other members that I'm happy to help your friends too. When your phone is ringing and you're not having to really go out and make it ring, mm-hmm. that's when you know you're well on your way. A lot of the AEP business too doesn't just plop into your lap during AEP. It's maybe members that or people that you met throughout the year that weren't eligible yet. Maybe they're still working, not ready to retire. Relationships that you've developed and worked on throughout the year with provider, doctor's offices, to where come AEP, maybe you do a panel letter, you're their person. So there's a lot of this work that you do throughout SEP, the rest of the year, that is really going to determine a large amount of your success the next AEP. So part of this planning is, did I do seminars during AEP? Would some of those seminars translate well in the rest of the year? Mm-hmm. Should I still target the same people I was focusing on during AEP? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Good. And I think there's a saying out there with like entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to sales types of roles, activity. People that stay active, I think, and there's a dark side of that too. Don't just keep yourself busy just to be busy, but things will not happen unless you create activity. And one of the best ways to do that, I think the biggest takeaway from Medicare OEP, what should you be doing, it sounds like, is get your stuff in order, because it all starts with that. This is the time of year to track who are your clients. Am I getting paid commissions? Where did I find these people? Where are my honey holes, so to speak? Where is all this coming from? Okay, now let me build a strategy for 2021 based on all of this data. And so if you didn't keep a lot of that data, then your objective is collect it now. That means that if you're starting from scratch, all of your members, you have some information. You have to, just through the carriers. It's time to call them up, and it's time to start collecting all that. And it's time to try to look back and remember the best you can where you found them. And maybe ask them, like, if you can't remember, let's say you had a member sign up and you go, well, I think that was from a direct mail. Maybe they'll know. You call them up. That's part of your follow-up. Hey, Mr. John, just following up, and then you do what we've talked about earlier, just making sure they're happy with their plan. Hey, by the way, just doing some housekeeping here for the new year. Could I get a little bit more information? I guess that's kind of what you do there. Do you have a good email? I don't know.
Yeah.
Start to build your database.
That's right. You can always fall on the sword. Say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're, happy with your plan. You got your welcome kit, your ID card. I'm just going through my notes and my records. Couple of pieces of information I want to confirm, and I wanted to just fill in a few gaps that, during the craziness of that day, I didn't maintain. And for me to do my job as your agent of record, I want to make sure that I have all of this on file. And again, ask them for referrals. Who else in your world is in the Medicare space that might benefit from a conversation with me? It's easy. It doesn't matter how you ask for referrals, but just do it. Every conversation you have, take that opportunity. And then maybe even a cross-sell. Say, the other thing is I don't remember if during our conversation we talked about dental. That's important to a lot of people. I know the plan we put you on has a small dental benefit, but, would you like to see other options for that? Or, hey, I can't remember. Did you say you canceled your cancer policy when we met during AEP? And they say, what cancer policy?
Yeah.
So now you write them a cancer policy.
So summarizing this, once again, everyone, number one, follow up with your book of business, ask for referrals, get organized. We can't say that enough. It's a new year. It's a fresh new year. It's time. It's time to do it. Check your commissions and then plan ahead. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Broker Link, and we will see you next week.